That's how we all die.
Good afternoon, Mr. Rottenborn. You did, Mr. Rottenborn.
Take that down, Michelle.
That is true, Mr. Rottenborn. Morning, Mr. Rottenborn. Could you say that again, Mr. Rottenborn?
Did I read that right?
Certainly did, sir. Thank you.
Did I read that right?
You read that correctly.
Did I read that right?
You did.
Did I read that right?
You did. But
Did I read that right?
yes, Mr. Rottenborn.
Did I read that right?
You did.
Did I read that right?
That's straight from the same lawsuit, sir.
Did I read that right?
You did, reportedly.
Did I read that right?
You did.
Did I read that right?
You read that very, very well.
Then, did I read that right?
You certainly did. Hollywood Reporter were very nice to me.
Did I read that right?
You certainly did.
Did I read that
Allegedly,
correctly?
reports say. This is hearsay.
June. Did I read that right?
You did. You should read the article. It's
And the
wonderful.
last one, did I read that correctly?
You did. Who's Alison Boshoff and how does she know?
Did I read that right?
You continue to read them right, yes.
And the where it says Munson's, that's a typo. And I have other uses for your throat which do not include injury. I have other uses for your throat which do not include injury.
Sorry, could you read that again?
These are your words, sir, right? You read that right, correct?
You did.
You can take that down.
Can you read that again?
And then you write,
Whew.
I have other uses for your throat which do not include injury. I have other
Well, it
uses
is Valentine's
for your
Day
throat
or Father's
which
Day.
do not include injury.
Sorry, could you read that again?
These are your words, sir, right? I read that.
You did.
Could you repeat that
You can
10
take
times, please?
Is he going to impeach him on deep throating or what's going on here?
And this is an entry that you made on September.
You crossed the
looks like
line.
September
I was
27th.
going to make a Fozzie Bear joke, but never
Is
mind.
that right?
That's correct.
Waka waka.
It gives
Mr.
us
Depp,
our moods. It gives
I
us.
appreciate that, but my question wasn't that. My question was
I'm just trying
right
to
after
school
you told the
you.
doctor.
Dr. Kipper told me he sustained an injury on one of his
Well,
fingers.
objection, hearsay.
Wait, you asked the question.
Oh. Injury to his finger. You don't know what caused the injury.
And he said, I don't think now's a good time to go. And I thought, it's the perfect time. She's not going to be home for 2 days. And then he showed me a photograph.
What was the photograph of Mr. Depp?
Here's a photograph of the bed, our bed. And on my side of the bed, was human fecal matter. So I understood why it wasn't a good time to go down there. I thought that some human being had actually dropped a grumpy, pardon the term, onto the bed.
If you told them stuff, great, cool. Thanks for exposing me. As I said to you before, don't do it again unless you want me to really also tell them my side of things. Because trust me,
You're welcome to.
Trust me, you know I have a different side than you. And if I show them pictures and stuff, I'm sure they'll have even more a different side. And in fact, if I tell them even more stuff, they'll have an even more clear picture of what I think are both sides.
Maybe I should show them
Right.
this
But
and
if you,
this.
that's true. You
from
can do
the mineral
you
spirits.
can do whatever you want.
A
You can do whatever.
can that you
You
threw
can
at
do
my
whatever.
face.
By the way, do it. I promise you, do it. Do whatever you
You don't
want.
want me to do that.
No, you always.
They'll
You do
never
whatever
speak to you
want.
again.
In the big picture, the big scheme of things, it does nothing but hurt us. And why? Because of coke and booze doesn't make it easier for you to see how clearly that is. You don't think
You gotta stop with the coke
All the coke
You're wrong.
all the coke you've done today and all the booze you've drank today.
By the way,
has it helped you?
I just got.
Has it helped us?
Just got the coke
Has it helped us?
today.
Yeah, I know because yesterday you were 1,000 times better.
Walking away is necessary. Is necessary, especially between you and I. It is of utmost importance because the next move, if I don't walk away or just go out for a little while, it's just gonna be a bloodbath, and like it, you know, like it was on the island, of course, like it was, you know. It's not worth it, man. It's not worth it.
Yeah, if
Why be miserable? Can we just
if the options are that.
have some semblance of understanding for each other's?
Please, can we? Because
Yeah.
I'm not trying to say, hey, by the way, no one in their right mind is going to choose bloodbath over walking away. Obviously, if you're given the option between the two,
Then why has it been chosen so many times?
it's that snowball. It is not a distinct choice. Either one of us make at any discernible point.
No, it's stubbornness and it's all
You know, and
kinds
it
of shit.
builds, right? Like you build, I build, you know. It isn't like at one moment either of us sign a certificate of saying, or like sign the contract or say, okay, now a bloodbath. No. So acting as though there's a choice between the two is irrelevant. Making it bigger.
Right, but
I mean, at least that's how I see it.
Indeed.
You know.
But if things get heated
Yeah.
and it looks like it's going somewhere nasty and the name calling begins and all that stuff, I've got to get away. Because I don't want to be ever in a situation again like that. Never.
Me too. Me too.
Never. So
Me too.
that's don't freak out if we do have a fight and I walk away.
I'm not going to do that. I'm asking you to stay when you feel you are also in the interest of working it out.
I think it's a good idea for us to take a moment or two, take some time. Take some time to think by ourselves without being, you know, barraged by each other's fucking bullshit whatevers. Let's take a break from it, and then come back, try and be calm, and walk through the thing. But I'm not gonna stand and fight with you. I will not. You can call me a coward.
I don't
You
want
can call
that.
me anything you want. All those names, do it. But I will not do it again.
Please stop asking. I mean, please, can you stop for the sake of this conversation?
No, I'm just saying I won't do it again. That's all. I'm not trying.
The person who is loudest is most responsible.
My
Just
16-year-old daughter heard you saying shit
by the way,
that she
that's
would rather
because
not
I'm louder.
hear.
By the way, because I'm louder.
Okay,
By
whatever.
the way, my family, my
'Cause
friends,
you
everyone
scream.
around me saw all the bruises and broken blood vessel under my eye, the bruises on my head, the missing chunks of hair, the split lip, the black eye, the swollen nose, all that shit, because you're stronger. It does not mean because they heard me that I'm somehow more responsible. It just means they heard me because I yell in a fight. You do provoke. I yell. It doesn't mean I'm more responsible or badder. However, I am exposed via that. The distance between Cafe Cabrones and the house is significant, and I know that does not mean that they got an accurate representation of our fight. But if you
I don't care.
Do you understand why 10 minutes downstairs
I don't
didn't
care.
seem real?
I don't care.
Did you hear what I said?
I don't care. I don't care.
You do.
There's plenty of things you've done, that were absolute fucking lies.
I didn't
I'm not
ever.
even talking to you about them. So anyway, I'm leaving. So I'll see you in a bit. Yeah?
Is that what matters?
Your lies?
Is this what matters to you, your party?
Your lies matter to me.
I never led you. And what we're talking about tonight is what? Who are you? Why? Why are you doing this?
I'm leaving. I'll be back.
Why?
'Cause I'm leaving.
What is it that is so important always to run away to? Why?
It's a runaway, yeah. I run because I'm a cop.
Why don't you? want not to leave, and I'm asking you. So why every 5 seconds do I get, I'm leaving because there's a f***ing movie party I gotta go to? I have never prioritized you behind that. And you, of all people, all this talk about not being that guy, you have done nothing but over the last 2 days but tell me that your movie parties were more important, including the night before last, when I said to you the same thing, stay. And today you apologized, said I love you, I'm so sorry, and then today it takes you 2 seconds. It takes you 20 seconds at most to go, that I hate you, I don't want to be with you, goodbye, I'm leaving, I'm running away, but I'm not running, I'm walking away.
Well, the one thing is for sure, I don't want to be with you. I don't. I really don't.
Then if you don't want to be with me in life,
Goodbye.
then you need to actually do it. You need to actually take off your ring and forget that 5 hours ago you said the opposite. Otherwise, you can't keep throwing that around. You can't keep saying to me that this is something you care about.
There you go.
Is that what it's worth to you?
Yeah. Yeah. For you, from all this bitching, from all these rules, all these...
Rules? Because I asked you to stay?
Look, because
Because I asked you to stay.
No, because you're
What was it? What was it when you asked me to
Because you're a
stay?
pain in the ass.
What was it when you asked me
I
to
can't
stay?
stand it no more.
What was it when you asked me to stay? In Australia, you said you promised me not to leave. You said you promised me not to leave. What did I do?
I thought you would change.
What did I do?
Not change.
What did I do?
Not change.
Did I stay or did I leave?
You changed.
Did I stay or did I leave?
You stayed and you didn't change and you were a fucking
I stayed.
pain in the ass and you were a cunt.
So I stayed. And I've been a cunt ever since, which is why you told me
Pretty
about every other day how you couldn't imagine your life without me, including today. So,
When
which
you're
guy,
great-
does that seem normal to
when
you?
you're
Does that
great,
seem
you're
normal to you? The guy, you told me tonight
Let
that
me-
you couldn't imagine your life without me, and now you're throwing your ring on the ground. Does that seem normal?
Let's have you tell me.
That seems sober? You seem
give
normal?
me the definition of normal. You.
Does that seem normal?
You.
Does that seem normal to you?
Borderline personality disorder.
I'm borderline personality disorder now.
Without question.
When I've been consistent all night saying, don't go, don't f this all up. I'm not fighting with you anymore. I've been saying this to you the whole night. I'm really sorry we disagreed. You're not perfect. I said this 2 hours ago. I'm not perfect. You're not perfect.
I love that you put
But
me
we don't
first.
have to do this every time we disagree.
No. No, we don't. But we do.
Please,
But we do.
please, come here.
And you have
Please come here.
every insult.
Please come here. I'm not insulting you. I have not been insulting you.
Back you.
I love you. Johnny, what do you need me to do? I love you. Stop.
You want to smack me on the ear again?
I love
You want to smack my ear again?
you.
So it fucking resounds in my fucking cranium.
I
Do you
love
like that?
you. I love you.
No?
I love you. I'm sorry. I love you. I love you.
I love you too. No? No? I don't love you that much.
Me too.
No, I don't. I do not love you that much. To give up myself? No.
You're not
Do
giving
not.
yourself.
I will not give up myself. And you want me to fucking be some kind of perched goddamn parrot or a fucking weird frenzied dog? No, I won't be it.
I don't
No?
want you to be a frenzy dog. I'm trying to talk
Or
to
your goddamn
Calm.
fucking lover,
Calm down. Calm
Tasia,
down.
Fantasia.
Calm
I'm not gonna be that shit. man.
Baby, stop.
No, I don't want to be with you.
Baby,
If these are the fucking
stop.
rules, fuck
They're not
that.
the rules. You're making this whole thing. You're doing this whole
Oh,
thing yourself. No one's fighting with you.
I'm making this up. Really? Yeah. That, above all else, is an insult.
So Andy, once again, has been working so hard to go through all the incidences and what Ambi Pants has said on the stand. And today we get incident 8, the disappearing phone, and the bottle incident. So this is what he found with that. This analysis will examine and debunk Ms. Heard's allegations that Mr. Depp severed his finger whilst repeatedly smashing a backlit phone against the wall, and that he then pinned Ms. Heard to the countertop and essayed her with the bottle. The disappearing phone. On day 16 of the Fairfax trial, Ms. Heard gave testimony describing in detail how Mr. Depp repeatedly smashed a phone against the wall until it disappeared. There was a wall-mounted phone on the wall next to where my head was, and he went from punching the wall to realizing that there was a phone there. And he picked up the phone as he's screaming. He's like, rah! At the top of his lungs screaming, I fucking hate you. I fucking hate you. You ruined my fucking life. And screaming at the top of his lungs, and picks up the phone and starts bashing the phone against the wall where I was just being held. And I remember kind of have some distance on what was happening and watching him do this. And it was like his energy had shifted and I was the phone all of a sudden. And he was just over and over again, smashing the phone into the wall over and over again, screaming at me. And I was watching the phone every single time he pulled his hand back. It was just breaking into pieces. I remember thinking, this phone is disappearing. He's smashing it to smithereens, just going into the wall. In her further testimony, Ms. Heard later described the phone as follows. It was like an antique. I don't know if it was an antique, but it kind of looked like an old-fashioned heavy. It looked heavy. I didn't pick up the receiver, but it looked heavy when I was watching it break. It looked like these was really heavy glass, really thick, heavy, not plastic, but like backlit or something heavy material on it. That's my best guess. In her testimony on day 13 in the UK trial, Ms. Heard similarly described the type of phone and how Mr. Depp repeatedly smashed it against the wall. He saw the phone on the receiver of the phone. It was like a mint green and cream backlit sort of heavy plastic mounted phone on the wall. And he picks it up, and the hand that had been on my neck loosened a little, but as he focused on the phone and I stepped back, just with my upper body, while he proceeded to, instead of punching with his fist, he used the phone. He picked it up and he hit it repeatedly over and over again into the wall, screaming at the top of his lungs. And I watched as this phone was just disappearing in front of my own eyes. Just every time he made impact with the wall, it was just breaking off in shreds. And I just watched him do it thinking, that phone has just disappeared. I did not know he had severed his finger. In the Fairfax trial, Mr. Ben King provided several photographs of the bar area in which the incident took place. The below image shows a floor plan of the approximate location of each of the photos. In regard to the adjacent photo, Ms. Heard testified to the left would be where the wall-mounted phone was. Right to the left of that, to the right of that, is the little L-shaped bar that I was telling you about where I was trapped. So if you're looking at this picture, imagine up and to the left at a person's height. So by your own testimony, the phone was mounted at eye level on the wall to the left of the countertop. And this is the same wall that Mr. Depp repeatedly smashed the phone against until it just disappeared. However, there are no pieces of the phone on the countertop or on the floor below. There is no trace of a handset or cables. There is no trace of the interior mechanism or electronics of the phone. There was no trace of a rotary dialer or push keys. In the adjacent photo, there is similarly no trace of the smashed phone or any part of the remainder of the bar floor. Just as Ms. Heard had described in her UK testimony, that phone has just disappeared. It should be noted, however, that during cross-examination on day 3 of the UK trial, Mr. Depp testified that he did recall ripping a modern plastic phone from the wall. And he said, "No, ma'am, I remember a telephone in the bar area. It was a wall-mounted telephone, but it was not backlit. It was a modern phone. It was plastic." That is possible, but if that's the case, I do not believe I spent very much time on the phone. I remember ripping the phone off the wall. Mr. Depp clearly describes the modern phone seen in the below photograph. This is supported by the fact that the phone cables can be seen severed from the phone. Oh, look at that. Ms. Heard, however, testified that the cream-colored phone seen in the above photo was not the one that she alleged to have been smashed by Mr. Depp. Yet on day 7 of the UK trial, Mr. King, property manager, testified during cross-examination that he did not recall having to replace a phone that was ripped off the wall. question, did you have any photographs of the wall phone that had been ripped off the wall? He said, I don't recall a phone coming off the wall or having to replace a phone ripped off the wall. Are you sure about that? He was asked, and he said yes. And during examination on day 9 of the Fairfax trial, Mr. King testified that he saw no damaged phones or damage caused by a phone being ripped from a wall. Did you observe any damaged phones? Nope. Did you observe any damage to a wall where the phone might have been ripped off the wall? Nope. When shown the adjacent photo during examination, Ms. Heard further testified that, yes, it looks like one area of the bar, obviously, this is sometimes later, because all the liquid is dried up. It's quite slippery. I was slipping all over that tile. Don't forget the parakeet floor. That's how I know. Looks like a lot of the glass has been cleaned up at most. And when later asked if the photos accurately depicted the damage that she saw, Ms. Heard testified, no. If you can believe it, it is significant. It seems significantly cleaned up. There was much more damage, a lot more, specifically broken glass on the countertops. There was a lot of broken glass. Was there also a lot of tea, Ambi Pants? I could feel it cutting my arms and I was trying to get up and I could feel it underneath my feet. I don't know when those pictures were taken, but there's been some cleanup. Clearly, Ms. Heard's claim that there had been significant cleanup before the photos were taken was in order to compensate and counter for the complete lack of evidence given in those photos that would support her over-exaggerated testimony and the lack of any broken parts of the smashed phone. Unfortunately, at the time of writing this analysis, metadata was not provided with the photos that were released on the Fairfax Court website. However, one of the photos shows a clock with a time of 8:55. The ceiling light in the photo is seen to be turned off, and daylight can clearly be seen outside the property, casting a shadow from the pot plant. So the photo was not taken at 8:55 p.m., as by that time it would have been dark outside. Sunset was just after 6 p.m. During examination on day 9 of the Fairfax trial, Mr. King testified that he arrived at the property around 2 to 2:30 p.m. that day, though the timelines of Mr. Connolly and Dr. Kipper from the UK trial would place Mr. King at the property about an hour earlier. Hence, the clock time would not have been 8:55 as Mr. King had not arrived yet. However, in their closing submissions in the UK trial, NGN converted the time of text sent by Mr. Depp when in Australia to local Queensland time. This inferred that Mr. Depp kept his mobile set to the time in Los Angeles, 18 hours earlier. If Mr. Depp also set the clocks in the property to Los Angeles time, then the time of 8:55 p.m. in Los Angeles would be 2:55 p.m. in Queensland the following day, and this would not be long after the time Mr. King had estimated his arrival at the property. Allowing for time lost due to general mayhem and the time taken in communications and the search for the fingertip, a time of 2:55 would suggest that the photo was taken shortly after Mr. King had placed ice around the fingertip and given it to Dr. Kipper. Thereby, it could not have been sufficient time to have performed a cleanup of the bar area, and nor would it have made sense to record such damage having already cleaned up the area being photographed. The evidence overwhelmingly shows not only that Mr. Depp did not sever his finger while smashing a backlit phone against the wall, but also that no such phone ever existed or was ever mounted on the wall of the bar. And thereby, the only alternative as to how Mr. Depp lost the end of his middle right finger is given in his true testimony that it was struck by a vodka bottle thrown by Miss Heard whilst resting on the edge of the marble countertop. And we move into the bottle incident. The almost pristine bottle. Immediately following her testimony of how Mr. Depp had violently smashed a backlit phone against the wall, Miss Heard went on to describe how she was suddenly then on the countertop with Mr. Depp on top of her and holding her down by the neck. So she said, and at some point he was on top of me, no phone, but screaming the same thing. I fucking hate you. You ruined my fucking life. I'm on the countertop. He had me by the neck and he felt like he was on top of me. And I'm looking in his eyes and I don't see him anymore. Miss Heard continued in her detailed testimony of how she was then bottle-arred by Mr. Depp whilst he pinned her down with the back against the countertop. The next thing I remember, I was bent over backwards on the bar, meaning my chest was up. Yes, Amber, that's what backwards means. I was staring up at the blue lights and my back was on the countertop. She screwed up there. She didn't follow the bouncing ball of her made up story, and she screwed up. My back was on the countertop, and I thought he was pinching me. I thought he was indecipherable. I'm sorry. I felt this pressure. I felt this pressure on my pubic bone. And then I thought he was punching me. I saw his arm. I could feel his arm moving. It looked like it was punching me, but I could just feel this pressure. I was like, oh, kind of hitting it. I just didn't felt pain. It was like the pressure on my pubic bone. I don't know. Yeah, Amber, we know you don't know. I don't remember what I said. I just remember being really still, not wanting to move. I remember looking around the room. I remember looking at all the broken bottles, broken glass, and I remember that just not wanting to move because I didn't know if it was broken. I didn't know if the bottle that he had inside me was broken. Wait a minute. Okay. She just said in her previous few sentences that she didn't know what it was. She didn't know what he was doing. I thought he was pinching me. And now all of a sudden she knows it's a bottle and she's worried that it's broken. Okay. I couldn't feel it. I didn't feel pain. I didn't feel pain. I didn't feel anything. I just did not want it. I didn't. I looked around and saw so much broken glass that I didn't know if he would know, if he would, I don't know if he would know if it was broken or not. And I just remember, please, God, please, I hope it's not broken. I don't know how that ended. I don't know how I got off the countertop. Once again, I don't know how I got off the floor. I don't know how I got off the couch. I don't know how I got off the countertop. I don't know how I got off the bed. There's so many times where she's like, I don't know how it ended because she doesn't know how to finish that off. She doesn't know how to continue the storyline because only someone who's been in that situation can finish that story once they've come to terms with what's going on. We are all very capable, very able to block things out. But according to her and her PTSD, she can't remember a lot of things now, which is odd because she didn't have it in the UK. Shortly thereafter, Miss Heard was shown a photograph of 2 bottles on top of a desk. On seeing the photo, Miss Heard again broke down, claiming that she had not remembered seeing the bottle used by Mr. Depp until her suppressed memory was jogged by that photo, which she had not seen previously. Only then did she recall her memory, claiming that she now recognized the bottle. In her further testimony, Miss Heard again describes how she was bottle-arred by Mr. Depp and how the photograph had jogged her suppressed memory of the bottle she had seen Mr. Depp use during the assault. The bottle shape, I don't know. Sorry, it took me a minute to respond because it's hard. It took me a minute to respond because I had not remembered seeing the bottle that Johnny used on me. I hadn't. I didn't have a memory of seeing it. And this picture, I wasn't aware of it until just the other day, yesterday, the day before, and I felt my stomach tighten up, like I was going to be sick when I saw it, because even though I didn't remember seeing the bottle, what I had remembered is a pressure like something square, which is why I thought he was punching me. That makes no sense. I was feeling the square something firm hitting like me, butting up against my pubic bone over and over again. I felt that pressure against my bone. I felt like it was a flat surface, but when I realized it was an object or bottle and not his fist, which is what I thought because, you know, his arm, I could see his arm while he was holding me down and saying he was going to kill me, but I thought he was just, you know, his arm looked like he was punching me, and I hadn't seen this bottle. I didn't know, and then this came out in Ben's evidence because he didn't share it until this date, and so I recognized it. That's a long-ass explanation of how you just made up the bottle story. As Miss Heard described the assault, she moved her right arm back and forth to demonstrate Mr. Depp's actions with the bottle. Where Miss Heard's testimony of being bottle-arred falls apart is that Miss Heard is now testified in both UK and Fairfax trials that she believes Mr. Depp had severed his finger while smashing the back phone against the wall. And that was immediately following this frenzied incident that Mr. Depp then bottle-arred her. Mr. Depp is right-handed, and it was the middle finger of his right hand that was severed. It would also have been his right hand that he held the bottle with, which he allegedly assaulted Miss Heard, as is supported by the back and forth motions of her right arm as she reenacted Mr. Depp's actions during the assault. In short, there would have been copious amounts of blood all over the bottle had Mr. Depp assaulted Miss Heard with that bottle as she alleges. In her above testimony, Miss Heard describes the irregular shaped bottle on the right of the adjacent image as the bottle she recognized as being the one used by Mr. Depp on her just moments after he had allegedly severed his own finger by repeatedly smashing a phone into the wall. She claims also that the SA caused vaginal bleeding. As can be seen, the bottle has a totally unblemished cream-colored label, and there is no blemish on the body of the bottle, unlike the adjacent bottle in which can be seen several black marks and smudges. The bottle can also be seen still to contain significant amount of alcohol, up to at least the bottom of the label and possibly higher. All that can be seen is a small amount of black paint near the lip of the bottle neck, and a run of black paint down the inside of the bottle, which, if caused by Mr. Depp, could not have happened until after his finger had stopped bleeding and after he resorted to dipping his finger in black paint, and would likely have been as a result of him poking his finger inside the bottle opening. And the presence of the paint is almost certainly why Miss Heard chose this as the bottle that Mr. Depp used to her. Miss Heard would have the jury believe that Mr. Depp somehow managed to hold a large, awkwardly shaped bottle with sufficient purchase to perform the alleged bottle R, and that he did so having just severed the end of his middle finger and without any of its blood, or indeed Miss Heard's blood, having touched any part of the bottle. The bottle that Mr. Depp allegedly used during this assault appears to be Maker's Mark Kentucky whiskey, which is sealed with red wax. Despite the bottle still containing much whiskey, Miss Heard complained only of bleeding following the alleged R. She made no mention of the large amounts of the 110% proof whiskey that would have spilled inside her and would have caused her severe discomfort. Oh my goodness, would it ever? More pertinently, however, is that there are at least 2 wax runs that can still be seen run down the neck of the bottle that would have undoubtedly easily broken off inside Miss Heard during the attack, yet both remain securely in place. Miss Heard's testimony that she recognized the bottle establishes that she would have seen that very bottle during or shortly after her essay, but this leaves the impossibility of there being no blood on the bottle. Even if Miss Heard were to now claim that it must have been some other similar bottle used by Mr. Depp, she would still have seen blood all over the bottle from the finger she claims Mr. Depp had severed while smashing the phone against the wall just prior to her assault. However, Miss Heard's claim is fully debunked by the fact that she did not see any blood on any other bottle that may have been used, nor any blood on the bottle that she recognized as the one used, and also by the fact that the wax strips did not make it off from that same bottle. Miss Heard's only escape route is to now claim that the assault took place before Mr. Depp severed his finger, and that it was some other similar bottle that Mr. Depp used to assault her. Such testimony, however, would make a mockery of her whole dramatic performance when describing her assault. The fact remains that Mr. Depp's finger was severed by a bottle thrown at him by Miss Heard, and that no sexual assault ever took place that night, and other evidence seen in the bathroom photos proves that Miss Heard remained awake and active throughout that night, while Mr. Depp was suffering from shock and near nervous breakdown from having just lost the end of his finger. Wow.
He was accusing me of having a man in the house with me. We were in a single, in a cabin. It's basically one room with a closet and a bathroom. I mean, there's nowhere to hide, really. I mean, there's a closet and a bathroom. And he, at one point, told me that I was hiding somebody in the house. Another point, he was communicating with someone not in the room. It would yell at me and then yell at someone else. It wasn't there. And I tried to ask for what I should do. I didn't know what to do. It was terrifying and strange. The whole week was...
So after you left Bahamas and finished with the detox there, where did you go from there? You testified that you observed an argument between Mr. Depp and Ms. heard? Do you recall that? You came into the room, Mr. Depp had
Yeah.
Amber on speakerphone. Do you recall that?
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Depp was drunk. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Okay. And do you recall that Amber was actually in London, not New York?
No.
You don't recall that?
No, I thought I thought it was she was in New York.
Okay. And you recall that Mr. Depp was accusing Amber of sleeping with somebody, right?
There was somebody else in the room with her, and that's what they were arguing about.
Are you sure that Mr. Depp wasn't thinking there was someone in the room and she was trying to tell him there wasn't somebody in the room?
He, say that again?
Are you sure he wasn't saying someone was in the room and she was trying to convince him there wasn't anybody in the room?
Well, he said that he heard the other voice.
Okay, and did you hear the voice?
Oh, no. I
Okay.
walked in there already, this is already in motion.
Right, and Amber's saying, why are you saying that, right?
Amber was saying, "Come on, baby, why are you being like this? What are you doing? Come on, Johnny. There's no need. Why are you being like this?"
Right.
And it was taunting.
How is it taunting to say, why are you accusing me of having somebody in my room?
Because they were in the midst of no solution. At that point, it would be if instead of taunting, saying, "Listen, John, let's talk tomorrow, and let's end this conversation right now, and we'll talk tomorrow, and we'll get to an understanding." Because there's not going to be any solution right now. But there was none of that. It was just continuous, "Oh, baby, oh, baby."
So
And that kept it going.
if Mr. Depp, in his drunken state, was suffering from delusions and thought he heard a voice and wasn't, do you think it would have been reasonable for Amber to be saying, "What's going on? Why are you saying this? What's going on?"
Objection, Your Honor. Speculation. I'll allow the question if you can answer it. You can answer the question, sir, if you.
Would I think it would be what?
If Mr. Depp was suffering from delusions and there wasn't anybody in the room and he hadn't heard a voice but thinks he's hearing a voice, would it be reasonable for Amber to be trying to figure out what's going on?
Objection, Your Honor. Hypothetical speculation. I'll sustain as a speculation to that question.
And the bottom line is you came in on the call, so you don't know what he said first or whether there was any voices, correct?
Whether he heard voices?
Yes.
Besides hers?
Yes.
No, I didn't hear the beginning of the conversation.
Okay. And then after the hang up, he went straight to bed, right?
No, after the first hang up,
Yeah.
she calls back again, which was it necessary? I don't know.
Do
And
you
then
know
a third
whether
time,
she knew? Do you know whether she knew whether he accidentally hung up or not?
that he accidentally hung up.
Right. Do you know whether she knew whether he hung up intentionally or
No,
accidentally?
the same way that I wouldn't know if, like, she didn't know that the telephone line got cut.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So after the 3 calls that you testified about, he went straight to bed, right?
Went to the couch and laid down.
Right.
Yeah.
And he was drunk.
Yeah, and he went to sleep. Yeah, he went out.
Do you know whether he'd taken any drugs that night?
No.
That's your voice making those moaning sounds sound like an animal in pain, right, Mr. Depp?
That's exactly what I said before. Yes, that is sounds like a pained animal, and
Let's
it
go to
is my voice.
250, please. You finished this flight.
The recording of the pain noises is not from that flight, sir. When we were on the island, and I was going through the detox, and it was hitting pretty hard at that point. And Ms. Heard had made a deal with Nurse Debbie and Dr. Kipper to stay at their end of the island, and that she would administer the drugs to me, administer the medications that I needed to not go into for lack of a better word, these intense, sharp, painful heebie-jeebies. And there was a moment when I could feel my body starting to tense, and I could feel the withdrawals coming on, and they come on quick, and they're not discreet. They go straight for the jugular. I mean, like I said, when your receptors are in full bloom and begging for the substance, the drug, the opiates that my body had become used to, these receptors that were being fed by. There was a moment when it was coming on very fast, and I was sitting on the couch in the little house that we all saw on the island. Miss Heard was at she was in the sort of kitchen area, and she was chopping vegetables, I remember. And I think it was around 2:30 in the afternoon, and the effects of the withdrawals were really coming on. And I said to Miss Heard, I'm going to need the meds now. And she said, she looked at the clock and she said, "It's not time." And I said, no, you don't understand. This is not about clocks and watches and things. I'm going into the ship, and it was visible. And I hate saying this, and I hate to have to admit this, but that was, I believe that was about the lowest point in my life. That was the lowest I'd ever felt as a human being, because I had to say, please, please, may I have the meds, because it's really kicking in. And she was adamant, no, it's not time, it's not time. So in explaining how these withdrawals start to take over your body, when I was begging at that point for the meds, I found that I had sort of rolled off the couch, and I was sitting on the floor crying. I mean, tears streaming down my face, begging another human being to please give me the meds that will take this away. And she would not. She was adamant that Nope, it's not time, 4 o'clock. I had a conversation with Nurse Debbie and with Dr. Kipper, and I said, I don't believe, I told them that she had denied me the meds when I was in need, and then I told them that I don't think that this is going to work here anymore. I think we have to leave the island, and I need to be, she can't be with me while I'm going through the rest of this detoxification. So I told them we should leave the island.
The note goes on to say, patient expressed frustration with the detox process and with not liking how the phenobarb was making him feel. Initially, he stated he was done with the process and no longer wanted MD and RN services. After processing his feelings and realizing how far he had come, and that part of his wanting to give up was due to tensions between him and his fiancée. Patient, fiance, RN, and MD came up with a plan for fiance to take a few days for herself, and patient was willing to continue treatment, but was going to refuse phenobarbital from this point forward. Do you see that?
I do.
Okay, did I read that correctly?
Yes.
Do you recall tensions between Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard at this stage in his detox process?
Yes.
And what do you recall about that?
I recall Johnny feeling that she was trying to interfere.
In what way did he feel she was trying to interfere?
By reporting to us things that he didn't feel were true.
Hey YouTube, my name is Natalie. I'm a criminal defense attorney, and today's video is what I'm going to be calling a live stream brief. I looked through day one of her testimony and compared that to those prior written statements. We went through this in the live stream, and I discovered that there were several things that Ms. Heard said that either contradicted her previous testimony, elaborated fantastically from her previous testimony, or was just materially different from her previous testimony. So first, why is this important in any trial? In a civil case, after the jury has heard all of the evidence, they are instructed by the judge as to the law. These instructions are called jury instructions. This is what a jury will be instructed in the Depp v. Heard case as to what they should consider when deciding whether or not each of the witnesses is credible. Instruction number 2.020 of the Model Jury Instructions of the State of Virginia for civil cases. Credibility of witnesses. You are the judges of the facts, the credibility of the witnesses, and the weight of the evidence. You may consider the appearance and manner of the witnesses on the stand, their intelligence, their opportunity for knowing the truth, and for having observed the things about which was testified, their interest in the outcome of the case, their bias, and, if any have been shown, their prior inconsistent statements, or whether they have knowingly testified untruthfully as to any material fact in the case. You may not arbitrarily disregard the testimony of a witness. However, after you have considered all the evidence in the case, then you may accept or discard all are part of the testimony of a witness as you think proper. You are entitled to use your common sense in judging any testimony. From these things and all other circumstances of the case, you may determine which witnesses are more believable and weigh their testimony accordingly. So this is what the jury will be instructed on when evaluating both Johnny Depp and Amber Heard's testimony. And that is why it is important to see whether there were any prior inconsistent statements. Whether the jury will know about the prior inconsistent statements, it is up to the plaintiff's counsel to bring up those prior inconsistent statements in cross-examination, and cross-examination has not happened yet. However, I can guarantee you that I'm 99% sure that plaintiff's counsel will be bringing up these prior inconsistent statements. So these are what the prior inconsistent statements are. I'm going to kind of go in reverse order here. I'm going to start first with what she testified to in Virginia versus what she said or didn't say in the United Kingdom. At the 47-minute mark of day one of Amber Heard's testimony, she portrayed to the jury a horse story in which Johnny Depp pursued her prior to them being in a committed relationship and tried to woo her by buying her a horse which she did not want. She didn't want anything to do with this horse, but he insisted and used her father in order to get the horse to her. This never came up in either her live testimony or her written statements that were accepted as testimony in the UK. There are 7 written statements, and this horse story does not come up anywhere in the testimony. At the 21-minute mark of her testimony, Amber Heard details how Johnny Depp initially came onto her by using his boot to lift the back of her robe, pushing her down onto the bed and saying the word "yum" to her. This came across, in my opinion, as quite predatory in his pursuit of her, as she was working on his movie Rum Diary at the time. He is twice her age, and at the time she was a very new and unknown actress to Hollywood. However, in the 7 written statements, which were accepted as testimony, and the live testimony, Amber Heard never mentions that Johnny Depp pushed her down on the bed or lifted up the back of her robe with his boot and said the word "yum" when he pushed her down on the bed. This never comes up in any of the multiple pages of testimony or live testimony. At the 43-minute and 45-second mark of her live testimony, here we're talking about Virginia again, 43 minutes and 45 seconds of her live testimony in the state of Virginia in the trial that is currently going on. Ms. Heard stated many times that Johnny Depp was ingratiating himself to her family, buying her parents gifts, and basically taking in her dad. That he would speak with a Southern accent when speaking to her dad, and basically trying his best to get her family on his side. In the many pages of her written testimony, as well as her in-person testimony in 2019 and 2020 in the United Kingdom, Amber Heard never mentions this. This story never comes up. To opposing counsel, and I can tell you this myself as an attorney, adding additional stories or behaviors of the opposing party can be seen as an elaboration, meaning that this person is adding on to their story over time. We as attorneys will argue to the jury that a witness's memory is better closer to the time of the event versus farther from the event. So if the further you get away from an event, the abuse, the manipulation, and the alleged grooming, and the more stories you add, we will argue to the jury that these stories are made up, that they're not real, because if they actually happened, you would have remembered them closer to the event. Now we're going to move into the next section of the inconsistencies, and these are actual prior inconsistent statements. These are stories that are being told in both instances, but the way in which they are told is different. On December 15th of 2019, in her written testimony, Amber Heard provides her description of the first time that Johnny Depp hits her, and it differs from the Virginia testimony in several key aspects. In the Virginia live testimony, Amber Heard says that after the second slap, she lost her balance. In the December 15, 2019 testimony, she says that after the third slap, she lost her balance. In Amber Heard's live testimony, she said that when Johnny Depp hit her the third time, it didn't even hurt, that it was not painful. However, in her written testimony in the UK on December 15th of 2019, Ms. Heard stated, and this was under oath testimony, Ms. Heard stated that when he hit her the third time, it felt like her eye popped out, which would indicate pain. Instead, when she testified live, she stated that she did not feel any pain. At the 1 hour and 4 minute mark, Ms. Heard testifies that after the initial slap, she walks out and Johnny Depp proceeds to call and text her, states that I would rather cut off my hand than to hurt you, and comes over with a case of Vega Sicilia wine. However, in her written testimony over the 7 statements, as well as her live testimony and cross-examination in the United Kingdom, Amber Heard never says that after this initial slap, Johnny Depp calls and texts her, says that he would rather cut off his hand than to hurt her, brings over a case of Vega Sicilia wine, or comes to her house and begs for her to take him back. This is an elaboration, meaning that she has added on details that, although given multiple chances to testify to, she has not testified to before. At the 1 hour, 47 minute, and 20 second mark, Amber Heard begins to testify in Virginia as to what is called the painting incident in March of 2013. In this testimony, she details how Johnny Depp came to her home, was upset that she had a painting hanging up in her hallway leading from her bedroom that was painted by her ex-domestic partner, who is a woman, that he took the painting down from the wall and attempted to light it on fire with a Bic lighter, that he did not have the ability to light it on fire with the Bic lighter, he was unable, and that he then left the house, and that he was in a drug-filled rage during that period of time, and that it was a stupid argument. However, in December of 2019, in her written testimonies and written statements, as well as her live testimony in 2020 in the United Kingdom, Ms. Heard's testimony differed in several key respects. As to the painting incident, she stated, "At one point, he tried to set the painting on fire with his lighter. I had to physically stop him from trying to light it up. He hit me in the face with the back of his hand and drew blood, some of which ended up on the wall. He had silver rings on. He always wore rings, and I think those might have been what drew the blood. I walked straight out of the room. I wanted him to be sorry and snap out of it." At the 1 hour, 53 minute timestamp of Ms. Heard's live testimony in the state of Virginia for the current trial in which Johnny Depp is suing her, so 2022, Ms. Heard testified as to an incident in which Johnny Depp suspected that she was having an affair with a friend of hers who does not speak English. This argument occurred in Johnny Depp's apartment, one of his penthouse apartments, and he became enraged with her, smacked her in the face, and she stated that a little bit of blood got on the wall. She stated that this was a small incident and that she didn't even really remember it because she's tough. However, if you look to her 2019 testimony, in which she makes written statements that are taken as testimony, as well as testifies under oath live in court, this incident is never mentioned, meaning that the incident in which she says she went to his home and he slapped her and blood sprayed on the wall over an argument over a friend of hers that doesn't speak English, that's never ever mentioned in the UK trial. This incident is conflated with the painting incident, meaning that in the painting incident, she says that Johnny Depp slaps her, he has a lot of rings on his fingers, this draws blood, and the blood sprays on the wall. She never mentions that a separate incident occurred. These are many inconsistencies. Moving on, at the 1 hour and 45 minute mark in her Virginia testimony, Ms. Heard testifies about sending a photo to her dad in order to celebrate her dad's sobriety of the both of them, her and Johnny Depp, holding up shot glasses with liquor in them. This is never mentioned in any of her testimony in the UK trial, either in person live or in her written sworn statements. At the 1 hour and 56-minute mark in 2022, Ms. Heard testifies that Johnny Depp held her down on the ground and slapped her multiple times, that this happened over a vase. A vase was thrown, there was an argument over this vase, and he held her down and slapped her several times. She took a picture of a bruise on the side of her arm and sent it to her mother on March 23rd of 2013. In the 2019 and 2020 written statements and live testimony in the UK trial, this incident is never mentioned, nor is this photograph ever mentioned. Ms. Heard.